Nintendo isn't known for developing direct mainline sequels for the Legend of Zelda franchise. When they do, it's a big deal. One of the things that has kept the series so fresh as time has gone on is that each one feels like it has its own identity and stands on its own stylistically. It's the same approach a franchise like Final Fantasy has utilized so well and other JRPGs alike. Ocarina of Time was the first 3D Zelda game and by default the first 3D entry to get a sequel. It's currently still the highest critically rated game of all time. More often than not, when a game does as well as this, the natural thing to do is follow it up. But the concept has to be right and creative freedom needs to be given. To have to capture lightning in a bottle twice is no easy feat, and they did it successfully with completely new ideas on top of the existing blueprint that was Ocarina of Time. There was no visual jump, it didn't matter. It's what Nintendo has always been so good at with their key first-party franchises. They are able to push the industry forward often on gameplay ideas alone. Their ability to constantly find nuance in the most important parts of game design is unparalleled. Their games having such excellent art direction is just a cherry on top. Since the launch of Majora's Mask in the year 2000, there hasn't been a single sequel to a mainline Zelda game that also exists as a mainline entry. The Wind Waker received 2 sequels that were developed exclusively for the Nintendo DS. That's as close as it got beyond most Zelda games having a great deal of connective tissue in the form of deep lore. Deep lore that at times I'm convinced only the world's greatest detective could figure out. The timeline in which a Legend of Zelda takes place is ever-changing. A game that was rooted in mostly linear game design going open world was in most cases more concerning than it was exciting. Nintendo having chosen to go this route with Breath of the Wild was a risk. There was always a lot of options on how you could choose to approach things in Zelda. Expanding the world drastically wasn't done as a means to chase the rest of the industry. It was littered with purpose. They didn't just give you a larger map, they found a way to make every inch of it count. Nintendo's first stab at making Zelda open world was the evolution no one knew the series even needed. Breath of the Wild's open world design philosophy was that no matter which way you approach something, it had to be as enticing as what would be perceived to be the primary angle. In designing the world this way from the ground up, what you end up with is a large map that does not function as a means of useless freedom. When you walk around the world, something is bound to catch your eye as you move the camera around. The genius of this design is fully realized by its art style. No matter where you are in the world, you can always see the forest through the trees. It's something that a great deal of games striving for photorealism struggle to achieve in their open worlds. Things are often so detailed that it's asking more of you to notice interesting structure. Something exciting could be right around the corner, but you won't know unless you happen to run directly into it. As incredible as some of these games are, they are far too dependent on you leaving the experience into a menu to find their most interesting landmarks. If seeing the best an open world has to offer requires you placing question marks all over the map to direct people to them, you may have already lost. The reason Breath of the Wild could get away with having next to nothing on its map is because they designed it so carefully in a way that they knew you would do it anyway. And that is what makes the Zelda team a dominant force in their genre. Tears of the Kingdom's massive advantage is that in the open world space, 6 years post its predecessor, the industry still hasn't caught up, with the exception of Elden Ring, a single game. Many have tried to emulate it, but what they take is the freedom of being able to climb anything. The most important aspect of Breath of the Wild's brilliance has not been replicated. Tears of the Kingdom is emulating what happened with Majora's Mask 23 years ago. This is a sequel that will not have any groundbreaking graphical leaps, but will lead with its ideas. Graphical differences didn't matter then, and it won't matter now. Most modern open-world games don't utilize their space in meaningful ways. The scale of a game being large will continue to sell to a mainstream audience until the end of time. You will often hear in related conversations that many are sick of hearing about Breath of the Wild's influence on the industry. The reality is that talking point can never end until more open-world games leave the comfort zone of an age-old blueprint and create their own. There are many games coming out year after year that all exist on the same path. Massive open spaces and technically tons of things to do, but most of those tasks lack any meaning or purpose. They exist solely to fill the large map they likely didn't even need to effectively tell their story within. Constant comparison may at times seem tiring, but Breath of the Wild changed the way an entire genre of games are developed, and it's been a very positive thing. The two games that have managed to drastically shift the industry in this space are Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring. These games have created subgenres. Many games have come out or are in development that can either be classified as a Breath of the Wild-like game or a Souls-like game. There's a reason these terms exist, and it doesn't have anything to do with chasing trends. It happened by opposing them. Freedom is the most valuable currency in these games. The more you let players dictate exactly how things unfold, the better. Tears of the Kingdom is going to thrive for the exact same reason Breath of the Wild did. It's truly unmatched creativity and gameplay. There are still new ways to play the game going viral all the time. The game markets itself. You will never be able to showcase what's fully possible in these games in trailers. It's a rare instance where if you think something could be possible in gameplay, it likely is. Nothing is linear. Every puzzle, every combat encounter, every way you want to navigate the world, it's all truly in your hands. Not even Elden Ring was able to achieve that. There hasn't been a ton of marketing content released for Tears of the Kingdom. Some are under the impression not much has changed in the way the game functions moment to moment. In the lead up to Breath of the Wild's launch, that was the headspace it also existed in. It wasn't until reviews were coming out that a fraction of what the game had accomplished was out in the wild. Tears of the Kingdom has every reason to capture lightning in a bottle twice. Nintendo has been meticulous in reinventing their biggest IP since their inception. The game has a lot to live up to. The small trailers we have gotten have been exactly how marketing for something of this caliber should go. The new tools they've created and the mystery of a crumbling Hyrule have been teased. Your imagination will take you the rest of the way to May. They don't need to show you everything new in Tears of the Kingdom. You'll experience it the same way you did Breath of the Wild in 2017, without bounds.